What do you think?
The Patriots.
Patriots. I'll go Cardinals. So that's our prediction. Patriots, Cardinals. Coming up, we look deeper into the Publicis Groupe restructure.
We're going to provide a perspective on ITV's investigation on Dentsu-Aegis' trading deals.
And finally, bad agency marketing. Hello and welcome to IDCom's Media Snack, episode 9. So this week we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the Publicis Groupe restructure and give some perspective on some of the challenges they face with media this year.
Yeah, we're going to cover an article that came out in the trade press concerning ITV's investigation on the trading deals that Dentsu-Aegis have got in place.
Mm-hmm. And I need to get something off my chest, which is some bad agency marketing, which we'll share with you some examples and wonder why. All coming up on IDCom's Media Snack in just the time it takes to eat a sandwich. Okay, so we're going to start this week. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into the Publicis restructure because that's really just been one of the biggest stories of the year so far. Yeah. And it's fascinating to kind of keep track of it. And last Friday, David and I were invited to go to Nomura Bank, so a Japanese investment bank. They advise a lot of institutional and large private investors in lots of sectors, but this was about for investors in the media sector. Yeah. And we had lunch with a room full of investors and we did a Q&A, which was fascinating. Some of the questions that they were asking us and the perspective that they have of our industry from a very different perspective. A lot of the questions were about Publicis.
On the back of last year's enormous number of pitches and the implications of the results of those pitches on the holding groups. Yeah. So the focus was predominantly on Publicis and how they're going to react to what was a pretty bad year for them last year.
Yeah. So that kind of led us into thinking really more ahead of that and then subsequently about what's going on at Publicis and perhaps what the impact might be for this year. And then this week we saw one of the leading media analysts on Wall Street, a guy called Brian Weiser, actually announced that or declared Publicis as a buy. Yeah. To say, and you've read kind of some into that.
Yeah. So he upgraded Publicis stock as a buy for two reasons. The first was that it is currently at a low price, 22% below his target price. But secondly, he believes that the reorganisation, the restructuring that Publicis are going to go through will provide them with a massive opportunity for growth going into 2016, the back half of 2016, and then into 2017.
Yeah. And Publicis, we've touched on this before, but the last 5 or 6 years, they've had a bit of a tricky time because they used to lead the market, lead the sector in terms of organic growth, like streets ahead of the average of the rest of the agencies 5 years ago. And that's just been on steady decline to now they trail way below the industry average in terms of growth. So it's hard to see where that's going to come from. And I think some of the original nervousness about Publicis as a stock last year was that they were very highly exposed in the US. Yeah, the US is over 50% of the Publicis Group's total revenue in one market. And the UK is also very highly exposed on. And they've had pretty bad times in both of those markets, haven't they? Yeah. So this reorg needs to work, and something needs to happen pretty quickly. So how's it going?
So we're not entirely sure. That's the big kind of question I think on everybody's mind. There has been very little communication beyond what Maurice Levy shared at the back end of last year. The financial controller, the financial director of Publicis Groupe, assured the city that the restructuring was going to be completed by the end of H1. Yeah. So going into Q3 of this year, the reorganisation was going to be in place. Yeah. They were going to start looking at hopefully organic growth in a place to get themselves into a place so 2017 would be far stronger. Yeah. We are a third of the way through Q1 and we've heard absolutely nothing with regards to the development of the restructuring. Yeah. So they're running out of time.
Yeah. And do you think clients would be concerned?
I'd be terrified if I was a client. I would want to know exactly what was going on, what the roadmap for this restructuring would be, how it would impact me and my business, and where the benefits are. And I'm sure that these conversations are taking place at a very senior level. But we certainly haven't been exposed, or we haven't heard any communication going through the agencies.
Yeah. And so, there must be a lot of pressure then internally, because they've got to quickly restructure. It's going to require, we mentioned this in a previous media snack, which we'll link back to, because if you want to know the backstory to the Publicis restructure, we've spoken about this before. There's pressure on the restructure, but also there's pressure to win organic business or gain back billings lost in a bad year, particularly in the US, that Publicis Groupe had from a media perspective. So pressure on that. We know that one brand has already taken their business to pitch, Aviva in the UK, which is 60 million?
Yeah, predominantly in the UK. So it's a long-standing Zenith Optomedia client. They have announced their review. We expect that to be quite a swift review, so to make a decision relatively quickly. But certainly it's a review that Zenith and Publicis at large won't want to lose.
Yeah, and we see this happen sometimes when it's clear that an agency group really needs to win new business. You'll find that actually quite a lot of their clients then put their business up for pitch, because they know that an agency under that kind of pressure might be open to renegotiate terms, which is tough on the agency. So they often have to fight on two battles. They're trying to find organic growth, but also they find themselves having to defend a lot of business. And so there will be probably some large Publicis Groupe media clients thinking, can I now leverage this situation to improve my terms?
But equally, if you are a non-Publicis client and you are intending to go to review, the first invitation that I would send out would be to the Publicis media groups. Yeah. They will set the pace in terms of their competitiveness when it comes to pricing.
Yeah.
I would want to be right in the middle of that opportunity.
Yeah, so that's pretty brutal. We'll keep an eye on that and report back to see which is the first big major global advertiser to really test out both Publicis's commercial commitments, but also whether it validates their restructure or not. Because
Absolutely.
Last year clearly P&G weren't convinced by that.
Let's wait and see.
Okay, next up, more agency trading deal questions.
Yeah.
So this time Dentsu-Aegis and ITV are having a little bit of a spat. So
Yes.
What's going on?
So ITV are investigating Dentsu-Aegis and their ability to deliver against the commitments that they've made to ITV. Two areas of kind of concern, I'd imagine, from ITV. Firstly, are they delivering the volume that they have guaranteed to get the prices that ITV have offered? And secondly, what is the share of their overall billings, of their overall spend? And so they were investigating the closure of the book, I think, from last year.
Yeah. And this is, we've talked a little bit before about these agency trading deals, the reason behind them. This is an agency, and ITV is the largest terrestrial broadcaster in the UK, so it's a significant media vendor to fall out with. These agency trading deals aggregate all of the client's spend to try and improve the pricing and the terms that the agency can get. So in theory, it delivers better pricing and perhaps added value back to the advertiser. But when they don't work, and when the agency falls out with the TV station or fails to deliver the volume that is promised to that TV station in advance, then that has a big impact on advertisers potentially, because it impacts the future ability for them to contract.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's two kind of key issues, I think, from a client's perspective. The first is that reportedly Dentsu-Aegis invests £300 million a year on ITV.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that they get significant discounts, and they also get rebates, right, which go back to the client, or a proportion of those rebates go back to the client. If they have been found to misjudge the delivery of those commitments, either from a volume or from a share perspective, then it will naturally compromise Dentsu-Aegis' ability to renegotiate next year on behalf of those clients. And it will also dilute some of the rebates that will be coming back, because those rebates are dependent on the amount of money that is invested within ITV.
Yeah.
So from a client perspective, they need to be careful that their price commitments that the agency have made them are deliverable moving forward. And secondly, they are still receiving their fair share of the rebates that are due to them from the investment that they give to ITV.
Yeah. And I would add other thing to that is for a client perspective, you just need to kind of keep an eye on your media plans, because if the agency is falling short of a big volume commitment that it's made to a TV station, when it has the implication that millions, hundreds of millions of pounds, is that you might find the agency suddenly dumping GRPs, dumping ratings, because they have to suddenly upweight their share of ITV in the short term, and so you want to be careful as a client that you're not being oversold ITV inventory in the short term in order to make up these deals. So it's just something to watch out.
Third topic we're going to cover today is around media agency marketing collateral. We're in the privileged position where we receive a lot of marketing collateral. In theory, it should enable us to navigate the market, identify the differences between one agency and another. In a broader context than perhaps a client would. However, you seem to have got a problem with that.
Well, I have. The standard is mixed, as you say, and it should help us understand and differentiate between different agency groups. But often it can be quite bland, and actually we find the agencies all kind of saying the same thing as well, which makes it hard to differentiate. But I've been getting quite upset the last couple of weeks, particularly here, because I think we've hit a new low in terms of agency collateral, because agencies, my observation generally is that agencies are kind of on a race to impress. A lot of the stuff that they put out and the marketing that they put out tends to be very kind of future gazing, predictive, very technical, and actually it makes media, I think what that tells you is that it just makes media feel and sound a bit more complicated than it is. And I'm not sure it's addressing the key question that I think many brands and marketers have, which is actually, can you simplify? Can you help me make decisions in this complexity? But a lot of the messaging that you get from agencies is just adding to that. And the reason that this time of year it just gets really bad is that the first week of January, everybody goes to the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and you come back with another 18, layers of complexity and another 20 things that you need to know about, from, how virtual reality is going to change the supermarket experience, or how robots are going to take over the world, and, self-driving cars, which are all interesting, but they just don't have they're not given a real-world application, and it's such a missed opportunity. And CS is a great example of agencies, they just outpour identical observations, which probably could have been written from the CES brochure. I find, just this time of year, I find it quite disappointing, and I think we challenge agencies, send us your marketing collateral, because we'd love to receive it, keep doing that. But we're just looking for you to differentiate yourselves and simplify the complexity and not add to it.
I'm curious as to what the clients think about this. For those clients that weren't at CCS.
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Because, if I was a client, on the 4th of January, I'd want my agency lead to be sitting in my office telling me exactly what I should be thinking about from a media perspective for the next 12 months, not tweeting me from Vegas.
Yeah, fair enough. Good. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to be updated with new content. But thank you for watching.
Have a good weekend.